90% of AI website builders promise to replace developers, but most creators do not realize that they're using the wrong tools for the wrong job. Now, I've spent weeks on testing every major AI website builder. I've burned through a ton of credits and I've analyzed real user feedback from Reddit communities. And what I discovered so far is going to save you months of frustration and thousands of dollars. Because while everyone's debating which tool has the best AI, they're all really missing out on the real question here, which is which tool actually gets your website live and profitable. Most people choose AI website builders based on all the hype instead of actual results. A tool looks great in a demo and promises that you can build a full website in minutes with no technical skill. So people jump in expecting everything to just work. And at first, it kind of does. You generate a good looking website and think, hey, I'm pretty much done here. And then you try to customize something important, and that's when you realize you can't, or you notice you spent more time learning how the tool works than actually building out your site. And hey, sometimes you even finish your site only to realize, though, that you have no idea how to properly publish it. I kept running into the same problems while testing out these tools, and when I checked out Reddit, it was clear this wasn't just me. There are countless posts from countless people stuck with prototypes that they can't even ship, hitting customization limits they didn't expect to hit, or burning through credits faster than actually planned. And the thing is, the tools themselves aren't useless. No, they're pretty good. The problem is that they're built for different purposes, but they all get marketed as if they all can do the same thing. So here in this video, I'm going to show you which AI website builders actually work, which ones break once you move past the demo, and which tool you should probably use depending on what you're trying to build. And to do that properly, I needed a way to compare without opinions or vibes getting in the way. So here's the approach that I'm using here. I'm going to grade each platform using a simple website builder report card. So every tool gets evaluated on 5 things that actually matter when you're trying to ship a real website. First up is the speed to live website worth 25 points. Now, this is about how fast you can go from an idea to something that is actually published and usable, not just generated on a screen. Next up is customization freedom, also worth 25 points here. And this one measures whether you can actually build what you have in mind or if you start hitting walls the moment you want something specific. After that, there's the learning curve worth 20 points. This looks at how much time and effort that we need to invest in before we can actually be productive instead of constantly troubleshooting. The fourth category here is real world functionality, also worth 20 points. Now, this is where things like business logic, users' data, and real use cases come into play. And finally, fifth, it's value for money, worth 10 points. And it's not just whether it's cheap, but really whether what you're paying actually makes sense for what you get. So in total, that is 100 points to achieve. So by the end of this video, you and I are going to know exactly which tool deserves our time, our money, and of course, our trust, and which ones are just better left off for demos only. Alrighty then, let's go ahead and start with Replit. Speed sounds simple until you actually try to ship something. Anyone can generate a screen in seconds, but turning an idea into something that works is really the harder part here. So we're going to check how fast Replit can get you there. Let's give it one prompt, create an app that can connect people to local events. And with that, Replit turns that idea into a working prototype. You can click through it here and understand how the app functions. And this isn't a mockup, it's already real code running as an app. It's not instant. Replit does take longer than some newer tools, but you usually get a full prototype from one prompt in under an hour. But things change when you do try to take it live. Publishing feels more like a traditional development process here. There are a lot of settings, and if you are new, it can get confusing. Users say the same thing online too. Replit is fast for prototypes, but moving from working code to a live product still requires technical comfort, especially around deployment. Also, on the free plan here with Replit, sharing is limited to temporary links, which really isn't ideal for real businesses. Eventually, you'll need a proper domain as well. So, yes, Replit can get you from an idea to a working prototype very quickly, but the slowdown does show up when you try to turn that prototype into something that's polished, live, and ready to share. So, overall, Replit comes in here at about 15 out of 25 points. After the project loads, the next thing that matters next is how much you can actually change. So with Replit, everything lives in the file panel here. The full project structure is visible, nothing is hidden or simplified away. So if you want to see how something works, you actually can. You are also free to edit things directly. So open up the index.html file, change the website title, republish, and the update shows up immediately. If you know where to look and what to edit, you can modify almost anything here. But that freedom also comes with an expectation. Replit doesn't offer visual controls for this. You're editing the actual code base here. And that means you need to understand what you're actually touching. And without that, even small changes can feel risky. You can see how far this goes and how other users work as well. People build out complex integrations and APIs and full workflows because Replit does not limit what you can build. At the same time, though, this is where many users do slow down. Because when something breaks, the fix lives in the code, not the interface. So customization in Replit really comes down to how comfortable you are working with actual code. And because of that, we're giving this a score of 20 out of 25. And if you have that background, it is powerful. But if you don't, this is where friction does show up. So after the app is built out, the next thing I do is open up the agent and try a few simple changes. Nothing advanced. No file edits here. I just want to see how it handles basic instructions through chat. At first, it feels approachable. I can type in plain language here and it responds the way you'd expect. I keep it simple and I ask it to say change the text color. And Replit understands the request right away and it also makes the change. Now, for small edits like this, the experience is pretty smooth. That ease doesn't last forever though, because as our projects get more complex, things do start to break or behave in unexpected ways. There's a weekly Reddit thread dedicated to Agent 3 issues, and it's full of bugs and edge cases and a bunch of user frustration. To really use what it generates, you really got to understand the code base, how files connect, and how changes affect the project. Because without that, progress slows. This also shows up in credit usage as well. Many users just burn through credits while experimenting, reprompting, and fixing mistakes. And once you reach the deployment stage, well, the learning curve does steepen once more. Replit is easy to start with, but getting comfortable with it long term still requires technical knowledge, especially for production use. So overall here, this scores a 10 out of 20 on learning curve. Now this is where you stop thinking about demos and start looking for what real apps actually need. Not just pages and buttons, but the systems behind them. Replit includes things like databases, authentication, and hosting directly in the dashboard. And you can see here the database section, some tables, and other built-in features right away. These aren't external services you need to connect to later. They're already there, which makes it easier to move beyond simple prototypes and also start handling users and their data. Once you start using these features, complexity does increase very quickly. Adding authentication and databases and payments or API integrations just changes the whole scope of our projects. This will require structure and ongoing maintenance. This is also where real-world requirements show up. GDPR compliance comes up often in community discussions, especially among EU users. Now, these issues don't matter much during prototyping, but they do become critical once real user data is involved. Security and scaling add another layer too, because things like encryption and performance and handling real traffic are not automatically handled. Replit provides the building blocks, but turning an app into something stable and production ready still does depend on technical experience. And that puts real world functionality at about a 15 out of 20 points here. So the next question is whether Replit is worth paying for. With a credit based system, usage matters just as much as the price. And the free plan is mainly just for getting started. You can publish one app, but usage is limited. The agent is more restricted, and several features are capped. It works for, I guess, testing ideas, but you reach that limit pretty quickly. The Replit Core plan opens things up with access to newer models and about $25 in monthly credits. Now, on paper, that feels reasonable for people building more actively. Where value shifts, though, is how fast those credits disappear. Many users report burning through credits faster than expected while building out their prototypes. So things like small changes and retries and regenerations do add up quickly. You can see it here in practice. Really broad prompts lead to a lot of back and forth clarification, and each iteration, of course, costs more credits. So value for money comes in at about 6 out of 10 here, mainly because once you move towards production, more costs appear. So custom domains, higher compute, persistent storage, and increased broad width all require paid plans, not free ones. So scaling efficiently becomes key. Overall, Replit ends up with a total score of 66 out of 100. Now, Lovable is built around chat. You type what you want, and then it builds a site for you. So let's try to ask it to create a simple event finder website. And within a few minutes, we see here that our site is done. Pages are generated, layout is in place, and you can use it right away. This is definitely much faster than Replit. So that speed also shows up in real results. There are founders saying their Lovable build to MVP got funded. People are clearly using it to move from idea to something presentable very quickly. However, the trade offs show up right after. Lovable gets you a first version very fast, but refinement takes a bunch of repetition too. I found this Reddit post here about a project that took 9,000 prompts later just to get it right, and every change means another message. So there are layout tweaks and feature adjustments and logic fixes. All of that happens through chat. So the more specific you get, the more back and forth it takes. So this is a chat your way to a website kind of tool. It's fast at the start, but finishing and polishing does take time. For this speed to live website, it is only fair that Lovable comes in at an 18 out of 25 points. So now let's take a look at how customization works with Lovable. Let's get to update our layout to make it more modern with a parallax background. I'm also going to change up some of the text and button colors, and I'll add more widgets to the dashboard. And Lovable understands my requests and applies the changes. Again, for broad layout updates and styling changes and added functionality, natural language works well here and gets results quickly. Templates also speed things up even more. Lovable offers here a range of starting templates that reduce setup time and give you a solid structure instead of just like starting out from scratch. You can also go beyond simple sites too. You can see here that some users are building fairly complex applications with Lovable. Others showcase full feature-rich websites built directly on the platform. And feature requests work the same way. So let's ask Lovable to create a native AI chatbot inside of our dashboard. And after some back and forth, it does exactly that. Features and integrations can be requested directly through chat. Now, where Lovable struggles, though, is precision. Exact spacing, custom animations, or strict brand styling are a lot harder to lock in and usually take multiple prompt iterations. So, that balance of flexibility and iteration overhead does put customization freedom at about a 22 out of 25. And Lovable is also very easy to start with. The chat interface is intuitive right away, and on first use, it feels simple and accessible. Again, though, that ease doesn't mean you'll get perfect results automatically. And there's a reason Lovable has an active prompting mega thread on Reddit. Just check this out. Users regularly share examples of what works, what doesn't, and how to phrase requests more effectively. I'll show you how it works. So, for example, let's send a detailed request that includes the goal, a reference, and a design direction. Now, that produces a lot better results than, say, a vague instruction like make it dark mode. The AI needs context, and learning how much context to give takes time. As users do spend more time with Lovable, they need to learn as well how the system interprets requests and how to refine prompts when outputs miss the mark. That process becomes a skill of its own, and this is where experiences pretty much split. So some users find that process natural, and others struggle until they learn how to prompt effectively. On the learning curve, Lovable scores a 16 out of 20 because it's intuitive upfront, but also demands skill over time. Now let's look at how Lovable holds up in real world use. There are plenty of real applications built on top of it already. And you can see Reddit threads full of published Lovable apps that people are actually using. And more importantly, some of those apps turned into businesses. That's awesome, right? There are founders showing Lovable build to MVPs that generated inbound sales and even secured funding. And that tells us here this platform can handle real world use. Features wise, Lovable does a lot out of the box. So let's ask it to build out a login and sign up flow with a user list in the dashboard. All right, so you see that? It handles the front end, the back end, authentication, and data management all automatically on its own. Where things do start to strain is complexity. Multi step workflows, conditional logic, and deeply connected features, they are possible, but they are harder to control. You often need multiple prompt rounds, and the system can get a bit fuzzy when business logic becomes very specific. Lovable also favors functionality over polish. The apps here work, the logic is there, but the UI often feels pretty generic. It's built to ship working products fast and not so much to obsess over visual perfection. And because of that balance, I can say this lands comfortably at 18 out of 20 points for real world functionality. The thing is, Lovable is not cheap, but it's not too overpriced either. The Pro plan is $50 a month, and for most use cases, that's the plan that you and I are going to need. And higher tiers do exist for businesses and enterprise, but again, Pro is where most builders stop. What helps justify it is output. People who launch Lovable built apps went on to generate revenue. Some validated ideas, some landed customers, some used Lovable MVPs to move forward with real businesses. Templates also add real value early on as well. Dashboards and landing pages give us a usable starting point without burning credits right away. And that saves time and reduces early iteration. Where costs add up is, of course, refinement here. Those polishes, every change, every regeneration, every extra prompt costs credits. And at this point, the effective cost starts to resemble paying a junior developer, just without guaranteed production grade code. So, that being said, compared to hiring developers or building from scratch, Lovable can still make sense when speed is the priority. If you're launching fast and validating ideas, the ROI is there. If you're optimizing for long term polish and complex logic, it does become harder to justify. And that's why Lovable lands at about 7 out of 10 points for value for money. And if we do take everything together now, Lovable scores a total of 81 out of 100. So now let's take a look at Framer. This one is built for speed, especially when design actually matters. Using the wireframe AI, you can generate a full website layout from a prompt in just a few minutes. The structure shows up immediately here: sections, components, and spacing. And that's because Framer takes a design first approach. Instead of focusing on logic or the backend, it prioritizes that visual structure. You see the site as it's being created, which makes it faster to refine and easier to judge if it actually works out. Templates push this even further because Framer has a large template marketplace, and once you pick one, you instantly have a polished, modern website ready to go. You can see the real world impact and how people use it. So, this is a Reddit post where a client was upset because her Framer site was generating too many leads, right? Can have it all. Between wireframe AI and templates, Framer makes it easy to ship something good looking fast. Especially for marketing websites and landing pages, it is one of the quickest ways to get live. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and put Framer at 20 out of 25 points here. Customization in Framer happens through a full visual editor too. We need to directly manipulate the layout, the spacing, the typography, and the components on the canvas. Responsive design is built into the workflow. You get visual controls for breakpoints, so you can see how the site behaves across screen sizes and also adjust those layouts accordingly. And that said, once layouts get more complex, you do still need to understand design fundamentals to keep things from breaking. Reddit discussions back this up. A lot of users praise Framer for producing professional grade designs that rival custom built marketing sites and portfolios. The quality ceiling here is pretty high, especially compared to most AI first builders. You can see that quality in the gallery of sites created by users. Many of them look like fully custom designed websites, even. The component system plays a big role here as well, because you can create reusable elements and maintain consistency across your site without rebuilding things over and over again. And that's a big deal once projects grow past a single page. The trade off is skill, because Framer doesn't protect us from bad design decisions. If you do not understand spacing, hierarchy, or typography, it's going to be easy to end up with something that technically works but looks kind of off. So that's why Framer does offer excellent customization freedom. Here, 23 out of 25 points, but it clearly rewards users who already know how to design. All right, so now let's talk about how steep that learning curve actually is for Framer. Framer doesn't feel like a typical AI website builder. The interface here is closer to Figma actually than to no code tools. You're working with layers and components and layout controls, not simple toggles or prompts. If you've never used design software before, well, that's gonna show up immediately. You can see this reflected in the community. Users are asking how to do basic things or look for workarounds. So, this learning curve exists because Framer is designed first. To use it well, you need to understand design principles like visual hierarchy and spacing and typography and responsive behavior, amongst many other things. The tool gives you control, but it doesn't make those decisions for you. And because of that, mastery will take time. Getting fluent with Framer's workflow and its shortcuts and best practices can take weeks or even months, similar to actually learning traditional design tools like Figma or Sketch. The upside here is that you're not on your own. There's an active community, plenty of tutorials online, and ongoing discussions around learning resources. Help is available if you're willing to invest in the time for it, and that balance, powerful but demanding, puts Framer at 17 out of 20 points for the learning curve. Next up, we're going to check whether Framer works once real people start visiting our site. And it does, especially for marketing sites and lead generation. There are plenty of examples of Framer built landing pages driving signups and inbound leads. You can see here some Reddit discussions too, as well as case studies where teams launched quickly and then validated their products with real traffic. A big reason for that is the tooling. Framer includes built-in analytics and also integrates easily with platforms we already know, like Google Analytics and Metapixel. You can track user behavior, measure conversions, and see what's working without having to bolt on extra tools. Hosting is also another strong point here. Framer's managed hosting is fast by default with global CDN distribution and also automatic optimization. Our pages load up pretty quickly, even under traffic, and performance is often actually better than many custom hosted setups. SEO and marketing features, of course, are baked in too. You get controls for meta tags, sitemaps, page structure, and clean URLs, along with integrations for common marketing tools. And a lot of this points to a clear focus on conversion. CTA placement, forms, animations, and layout choices are built to drive engagement. So, for businesses that care about traffic and leads and results, Framer delivers where it counts here, which is why I'm going to give it a score of 19 out of 20 points for its real world functionality. Framer gives us premium results, but it also comes with pretty premium pricing. There is a free tier, then Basic at $10, Pro at $30, and Scale for higher traffic. Basic works for light prototyping, but most real use cases will push you into Pro pretty quickly. There's a Reddit thread here calling out that even simple things like robots.txt and redirects require moving up plans, which does frustrate a lot of users. Removing Framer branding as well, unlocking more CMS collections, or using custom domains also pushes you into paid tiers almost immediately. As you add CMS pages and forms and traffic, the price climbs up fast. Compared to simpler tools like Card or basic Webflow, even, and WordPress, Framer is expensive for straightforward sites. Where it makes sense, though, is marketing. If you care about design quality and speed and conversion focused pages, then Framer earns its cost. If you just need a basic site, it's pretty much overkill. And that trade off puts Framer at about a 5 out of 10 points for value for money. With strong scores in speed and customization and real world performance, Framer finishes at 84 out of 100 overall. So now let's talk about Base 44. Here, speed actually shows up. So I'm going to send this prompt. Please build a simple event finder website. And within minutes, Base 44 delivers to me a working site. It understands natural language well and turns the idea directly into something usable. And that's because Base 44 is built to translate business ideas straight into functional apps. There's no technical translation layer. You don't describe features like a developer. You just have to explain what you want. And there are real examples backing this up. So check out this Reddit thread. It shows an e-signature app built and deployed quickly using Base 44. Publishing is where Base 44 really pulls ahead too. You just click publish and the app is live. That's it. Hosting is also built in, and the backend is also handled the same exact way. Database, authentication, user management, all of that is automatic. Compared to tools where speed drops off at deployment, Base 44 keeps things fast from start to finish. So from idea to live website, it happens in minutes, not hours. And that's why Base 44 earns 24 out of 25 points for speed to live website. So customization in Base 44 is handled entirely through conversation, through chat. You describe what you want and the platform makes the changes. Okay, so here, let's go ahead and ask it to improve the background, change the font color, and add a dark theme. Base 44 applies the updates without needing any manual edits. For layout changes, styling, and general feature updates, natural language works reliably here. There are real examples of this working in production. According to this Reddit discussion, ChartDetector.ai, it's a Base 44 built product that was featured on Business Insider. Others also show a wide range of applications built on the platform, from internal tools to customer facing apps. And we can go even further than just visual tweaks. Base 44 lets us add real business logic just by explaining it. So I'm going to try to ask it to create a full CMS with login and signup designed to track user attendance. And looky here, it builds out the whole system end to end, including the data structure and the workflows. So what makes this different is that there is no coding handoff. Business requirements can be translated directly into features through conversation. And if you can clearly describe what you want, Base 44 can usually build it out for you. I think it is only fair to give customization freedom here a score of 24 out of 25. Now, the learning curve in Base 44 is pretty much almost non existent. When you open it, you're just dropped into a straight conversational interface. There are no settings to configure, no tools to learn, no technical concepts to understand. You don't even need to type anything to see how simple it is. This lines up with user feedback. There are Reddit comments describing Base 44 as the fastest aha moment that they've had with a builder. And people definitely get it instantly. So let's go ahead and try it out. I'm going to ask Base 44 to revamp our dashboard and simplify it and give it a more modern UX. And it starts working right away here. There's no need to explain how things should work. You can be productive from the very first prompt. And more importantly, non technical users aren't hitting walls either. There are large Reddit threads where people with no development backgrounds are actually building complex applications. They just describe what they need and then Base 44 builds it. A lot of users mention how well it understands intent because the platform consistently translates requirements into working features without needing technical clarification. Base 44 removes the usual barriers that stop people from building. You don't need to learn the tools, you just describe what you want, have a conversation. So for the learning curve here, Base 44 comes in at a 19 out of 20. So now this is where we assess how Base 44 performs for real business use. First, the fundamentals are already in place for us. Base 44 includes a built-in backend with database access, user management, and automated authentication. You can also see all of this directly in the dashboard as well. There's no external setup and no infrastructure to configure. The foundation already supports real companies. So check out this article about chartdetector.ai, a Base 44 built product that was featured on Business Insider and then went on to secure funding. This user also builds a full e-signature application with Base 44. These are all workflow heavy tools that businesses can actually rely on. And a big reason this works is how Base 44 handles that complexity. Multi-step processes, conditional logic, and data relationships are all created automatically through plain conversation. You just describe the workflow, and then the platform builds it without manual configuration. Many people describe Base 44 as revolutionizing app development because it removes that technical barrier entirely and then lets us build independently. Base 44 clearly prioritizes business functionality and workflows over visual polish. And it's built for apps that just need to work, not just look good. So for this one, Base 44 earns a perfect score of 20 out of 20. Now let's look at pricing because Base 44's value really shows up here. Base 44 starts with a free tier, of course, that actually lets you try the product. You get about 25 message credits per month, I know, and 100 integration credits, which is enough to experiment and understand how the platform works. And as you move up, the pricing scales cleanly. The starter plan gives you 4 times more message credits and 2,000 integration credits, making it practical for active builders. The next builder plan jumps to 250 message credits and 10,000 integration credits, with Pro doubling that at $80. Elite is there for teams running heavier workloads. Every paid plan removes app limits, which matters once you're building more than one product. So I'm going to show you how fast we can get results. So let's go ahead and prompt Base 44 to create a new social media platform for photos. And in about 4 minutes, the app is already built and running. And that speed shows up in user feedback too. Reddit threads are full of people talking about launching MVPs, validating their ideas, and getting real business traction without long build cycles. So, if you're thinking about the ROI here, the real cost really depends on how many credits you burn and whether you stick around long term. But compared to hiring developers or stitching together multiple tools, it's a pretty strong value to me. So, for what it offers, Base 44 lands at 8 out of 10 points for value, bringing the overall score to 95 out of 100. So far, we've been looking at apps, but Base 44 isn't limited to just that. I'm going to ask Base 44 to create a simple landing page for a 3D production studio. And a few minutes later, our site is here. There's a clean layout, it looks professional, and it's ready to use. And it doesn't feel like a workaround or a stripped down version of an app. It's just a normal business website. So then let's go ahead and tweak it. I'm going to ask for a white theme, a more modern layout, and for the company highlights to show up first. Base 44 makes the changes without any friction. The output also holds up. There are real Base 44 projects being shared publicly, including ones featured on Business Insider and discussed on Reddit. And some of them are doing more than that too, because users have shared stories of Base 44 build products making real money and even getting funded. At this point, it's clear what Base 44 is doing. It removes the usual trade offs. You're getting something that's easy to use, that looks pretty professional, and actually works in the real world. So yeah, for me, that's it for this breakdown. These tools, they all work, but they work in very different ways. And that's really the whole point of this review. And I'm hoping here that this made it clearer for you where each tool actually shines and where it starts to fall apart a little bit once you move past those demos. Thank you for investing your time with me today, and I'll see you at the next one.